I want to share with you the best tasting tomato paste I've ever had. Now, this was an adventure for me, and last season, last summer, we learned from Jill, and I just heard it in one of her videos about the Borghese tomato being the best tasting tomato paste that you can make, and I kind of followed along with her journey on that, and I started experimenting myself. So last year, and it was a little bit later in the season, I don't think I was harvesting them until like November last year because we were so late, but here we are in July, and I am probably 2 weeks deep in harvesting a lot of the Borghese tomatoes, and I recently posted about what my intentions were, and we have a chef that has requested me to send him some of my tomato paste to test out. I want to show you exactly what my process is, and I have a batch here of my Borghese tomatoes that I harvested 1 to 2 days ago. I've been collecting them. I wait for them to get a little bit more on the red side before I start to prepare them to be dehydrated. My process is going ahead and slicing them into little thin slices. Quick tip, have a sharp knife because this knife, I was noticing, was causing me to have to dig into my tomato and then slice it. However, I do have a sharper knife that will just cut right into the skin just right. I don't waste any of this. We're gonna dehydrate every piece of it. You don't have to core, score, or anything. Okay, Tori. After I get a collection, just in sections, I like to put it into this bowl. And I want to make sure that I'm putting this juice with the seeds in there as well, because this is all flavor that is going to go into the powder that we're looking for. Just to recap, that this is about 3 pounds of sliced Borghese tomatoes from our garden that I've allowed to get nice and ripe. I usually just eyeball it with my seasonings, but I understand that a lot of people just starting out need at least a guideline. I know I always start with a guideline and then I adjust it to my flavor preference. So I will give you a starting guideline on the seasonings that I'm going to use. You can just be creative and change it how you like. I will start off with doing 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Now this is just a little spray bottle I use. I bought this just so I can refill it with the olive oil I like to use. I've had this for several years now, and I just keep refilling it. So I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Just gonna sprinkle it.
And that's extra virgin olive oil?
Yes, extra virgin olive oil is typically my preference with most cooking. And then all of the other ingredients here, I'm just gonna do a teaspoon. I'm gonna do a teaspoon of my favorite real salt by Redmond, and a teaspoon of Redmond's garlic pepper, which these 2 seasonings are my go-to in every dish, by the way. And we are such fans that we agreed to be affiliates, so if you want a discount on their products, check out the link below and it's available for you guys to get a discount. We didn't start with a discount. This right here, you can use your, any type of organic is my preference of onion powder. This is from our garden that I have dehydrated in my dehydrator. You don't have to go through that trouble. You can buy your own, but I'm going to start off with 1 teaspoon of my own onion powder. And I have dehydrated my own basil powder. It is available at the store as well. I'm gonna just do a teaspoon of it. The only product that I am wanting to replicate for myself here, and I really need to do my homework, because I think I have the separate components I need to look at that a little closer, is this Goya. I'm just gonna add 1 teaspoon of Goya. And you don't have to do this. This is just my preference. After getting all of your seasonings in there like that, you're just gonna toss it around, get it nice and mixed up, because you're preparing this to go right into the dehydrator trays.
That smells good.
You should taste it.
All right, here we go. That's good. Put some onions and cucumbers. You can have your tomato salad just like that.
I want you to try one dehydrated because it's a lot more concentrated. And tell me what you think about the dehydrated version.
Not a fan of dehydrated fruits and vegetables.
Get a lot of spit in your mouth.
It's like tomato jerky.
Mm-hmm. But what is the flavor?
It's still the same.
It tastes good, right?
Just,
Why are you grabbing another one?
I'm trying to see if I like it.
Go ahead. These are ones that I...
So you've done these previously already?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been doing this in waves.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing it, like, this is my new season. I'm already up to this point.
Okay.
So I am going to be showing you guys... Stick around. I'm going to show you
How to get to that?
Yeah, well, I'm going to show you how I'm going to grind this down and actually make it a paste, because I need to make a powder to ship off to the Redmond chef. I use the Excalibur Res 10 dehydrator. We are not affiliated in any kind of way, but this is something that I've been running every single day for several different herbs and different things that I'm dehydrating to preserve. I would like to have a freeze dryer at some point. There yet with Mr's bank account. I want to get as much of everything, seasonings and all, scraped off the surface. I use these mats that I cut that are reusable. You can use parchment paper. I just am trying to be less wasteful. I am going to directly reuse these, even though that there's seasoning on here that if freshly finished, and I'm going to be fine with using this because we're using the same product, the same seasonings, and I don't want to be wasteful. My technique might not be the same as yours. I just kind of like plop it on to the 4 sheets, juice and all. And then I take my time kind of spreading it out. I want to have the skin side down and the flesh up. Most of these have flesh on each side, but not everything does. So the ones that were in caps, you want to make sure are face down. Now this is the messy part. Some people are going to be like super OCD where they want to have everything separated. And honestly, my priority is just getting it as separated as possible, away from each other, with the skin side down on as much as I can get. And I'll be happy with that. My husband is always telling me how people have asked in some of our videos for me to show some of the stuff that I do in the kitchen, because he does talk about it a lot. And so I'm trying to share a little bit more about myself and what I'm doing in the kitchen. This is really an intimate process for me, and it's not the most comfortable thing for me to share what I'm doing in the kitchen. So bear with me as I try to get more comfortable with this. This is not perfect. I am always like nitpicking and finding things that I still need to flip over, but my husband keeps snacking on it, so I need to get this in the dehydrator so we can get it going. Mind you, I am doing this every day. I am doing a batch of 3 to 4 trays lately because this is harvest season. So the Res 10 has an option, an A-B option. And because I've been using it so much, I keep alternating. The batch I took out earlier came out of the A section, so I'm trying to go kind of like back and forth between the two. For this, I'm going to go ahead and select dry it, time and temp. Now the time for me lately with the oil that I add and all of the seasoning, what has been working, because we have been very humid lately, has been 20 hours. That is the perfect time for me to have it ready. And then for the temp, what has been working for me is 145 degrees. Now this will alternate depending on how dry or humid your area is. The inside of our house, we have a 68% humidity right now inside of our house. We keep getting alerts because we've been having a lot of rain. So that's why this is working for us right now. Last year, I had it around 14 hours at this time of year at around 135 degrees. So this is going to be something that might change, that you have to kind of like play with depending on how much humidity that you have going on in your house. And 20 hours later is where we get it to where it's like this. And I want to show you guys kind of what I do to grind this down to make it a powder, because I do need to prepare that to ship tomorrow. Now, we do not have a professional grinder. We have designated this coffee grinder as our grinder that we do small batches. So for this, I'm just gonna fill it as much as I can and grind them in batches until I have about how much I need. For this, I like to start off with a medium grind, and then I go to, after it processes, I'll go to a fine grind and do it like that. Our goal is to fill a pint jar. So this right here is 12 tablespoons of my dehydrated Borghese tomato paste. And in this pint jar, 12 tablespoons, again, just adding 18 tablespoons of water will fill this jar up. I am going to be shipping this to my friend without adding any water, because I want it to be shelf stable. Once you add water to this, it really should be refrigerated, because this has not been processed with a pressure canner or anything like that. I am doing it like this for us as well. I am grinding it freshly like this as I need it. Let me show you what that looks like. This right here, I am doing probably about once a month, because I am putting this on our sandwiches. I am putting this on our tortillas with our egg breakfasts often. I'm utilizing this for extra flavor in all of our dishes, our sandwiches, our pastas, all of those things. And my goal this next year is to not have to purchase any over-the-counter paste at all. After tasting this, it has a much less acidic taste, and it just has a much more flavorful impact in the dishes that I've been making. And once you add the water to this, you want to just whip it up And it's good. Like I've had this in the refrigerator about 2 weeks now on this batch, and this is probably my third pint this season. I hope that this was helpful for you. I know for myself, this was kind of a unknown terrain as I wanted to replace something that I purchased. And that's really my motivation this past year for this season, is looking to replace things that I usually would buy at the store that I can actually produce for my own garden. And not just produce for my own garden, but also make it shelf stable and utilize it to add flavor. Flavor is something that is really important to Mr. Naked Gardener and I, as we came to this life as foodies first, and that has been a priority. If you want to see how our garden looks and what I'm working with, I'll put that video off to the side and in the show comments down below. Until the next time, thanks for joining me.